Although the state around horror these days are lacking in stories, legacy sequels, very crappy reboots and remakes, there's always a couple diamonds in the rough that tend to pique my interest. If none of you knew this, I consider myself a horror enthusiast. Notice how I did not say horror film enthusiast, because I like the entire brand of horror. I like to be scared. It's like feeling in love for me. I get them butterflies in my stomach, and I just gotta have it all the time. When I was growing up, I was shown a lot of nostalgic horror, I guess, so I have a lot of things that I hold very dear to my heart, my little decrepit, scary heart I love so much. One of those things being Jeepers Creepers 2. You can say whatever you want about the film. I think that if you use the horror trope of projecting yourself in that horror film, then more or less you're probably going to get scared, which is what I do with almost every horror movie I watch, because I'm a psychopath. On paper, Jeepers Creepers 2 is not really scary. It's more or less just kind of like an action film if you really think about it. But once you transport yourself into the film, becoming a character, becoming someone who is dealing with these traumatic events at the same time, you start to feel that terror. And you start to see your high school friends getting picked off one by a creature you can't explain rationally.
You just said they shouldn't.
I know what I just said. There's something going on out here, and I don't like it. I think if we just stop.
While yes, there's plenty of emotions that you can feel while watching a horror movie. I can watch dear Sarah get her leg chopped off in a horrific accident and feel very bad for her. I'm not going to feel those same emotions unless the atmosphere and the personalized situation of the film it lets me. For instance, one of the best horror movies of my entire lifetime have been The Blair Witch Project. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I've heard it all. Nothing happens. You can't see anything. It's so boring. Blah, 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 blah. And I think if you value a horror movie with things happening, i.e., jump scares galore, then The Nun should have won a fucking Oscar. If 3 actors portraying characters in the most authentic way possible in a film about scary witchy shit that happens in the woods and you're just kind of along for the ride, if that doesn't fool you, then let's strip it down even more. Let's make it even more personal. Let's have it be a found footage film so you become legitimately one of the characters in the woods with these people. You see nothing more, nothing less. You're experiencing it just like everyone else is experiencing it. That's scary. Oh yeah, and let's make the ending incredibly ambiguous, to the point where you've been trained this whole movie to think, oh, what does this creature look like? And then the film ends, and then you're like, there's no template for me to understand what this thing looks like or what this thing is. So now I'm just driving home with dread, thinking about what the hell just happened. And that's what I like. Being transported into a situation where you have absolutely no control over what you're seeing. That's scary. And honestly, I think nobody does that better than
in this house.
So I know TikTok has a tendency of doing the I found the scariest thing in the world thing on the I found the scariest movie in the world. And it's usually wrong. Do you guys remember Antrum? Antrum was a very stylized movie that had the tagline, the most cursed film in the world, or something like that. And it had a really cool premise and a semi-decent story. But what the fuck was that movie? While the style and the premise was interesting, nothing happened. It was a 94-minute movie where nothing happened. Nothing really happened. There was a couple spooky bits, but nothing happened. So I can understand why people don't like Antrum, and why people would not be inclined to like the Blair Witch Project either. It's something that seems to be an acquired taste, I guess, but I'm definitely not comparing the two, and if I was, then Antrum is nothing compared to the Blair Witch Project, but I think this is what people's main criticisms of Skinamarink is. When I saw the trailer for Skinamarink, I was terrified. I'm not gonna lie, this one actually got me, and I was very impressed and intrigued. I really wanted to see it. I'm a sucker for like new stylized movies. I like movies, so sue me. Now, I'm not going to go into the film. I know that it's receiving a lot of criticism here on YouTube, good or bad, constructive or not. So I'm not going to really talk about Skinamarink per se, but I am going to talk about Kyle's former YouTube channel, I guess. I don't know if he's still doing it. I would hope so, because it's fantastic. So Kyle had a YouTube channel that he would film and create these terrifying, nightmare stylized videos of users submitted bad dreams of people that they had, and he would just create them, and they're really good and very terrifying. When I figured out what Skinamarink was, I immediately hopped on a subreddit, the horror subreddit. I'm a Reddit boy, I guess. And I found I found a suggestion to go visit his YouTube channel and watch a short film. And I did. And it's the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Now listen, you can call me one of those boys on TikTok and you can say, hey, you're doing the thing that you just criticized about. And yeah, whatever, it's fine. I like to consider myself a good judge of horror because I like to be scared. So I seek out things that are actively terrifying. And look, I know everyone has a different scare factor. Scaring is completely subjective, and I get it, and it's fine. But it's not even scary. It's just freaking traumatic. If you were scared to be left alone as a kid in the dark, that's scary alone. Just let alone, that's terrifying. You might feel some of the childhood trauma responses that I felt when I watched this 30-minute short film. The short film is called Heck. Hearing the premise, you could say it's the rough draft of Skinamarink. But in my opinion, I think it is the much better version of Skinamarink. One of the major criticisms of Skinamarink is that the feature length, the main criticism of Skinamarink is that it's kind of long and nothing really happens. And while criticism, whatever, it's fine. Heck is, I think, the best parts of Skinamarink put into a more personalized nightmare that's just well-rounded and like a perfect time. The story is told perfectly with less than 30 minutes and still makes me piss my pants. The short film is about a little boy who wakes up and can't find his mother. The house is dark, creepy shit starts happening, like doors and windows start disappearing, and that's about it. But it's scary, I promise. Before I go into how this film makes me feel, I am going to talk beat for beat about the interesting stuff that happens in the film, so I will highly recommend, if you are super interested in Skinamarink, that you go watch Heck in its entirety. Kind of trigger warning, I guess. It's sad. It's fucking sad. But if you're morbidly curious about this interesting freaking movie, then yeah, please go watch it. And spoiler warning, I will be talking about Heck right now. So the video opens with a blurry shot and a TV being heard in the distance. The boy walks into his mother's bedroom to find that she is not there. He walks downstairs into the living room. The house is very dark, and he realizes that all of the lights are broken. After looking around a little bit more, the boy yells out for his mom that he's going over to Wally's house, but discovers that he can't open the door. Returning back into the bedroom to watch the cartoons on the television before telling his mother goodnight and that he loves her, and falls asleep. The next day, we see that the boy is trying to get some cereal for himself and goes into the living room to watch some cartoons while he eats. We then see the boy pick up his toys and make his bed before saying, "Mom, I cleaned my room." Hearing nothing, he then repeats himself louder for her to come and see. We then see the boy playing with toys and coloring while watching cartoons as it cuts to the next day. We see the boy curious about the basement where he thought his mom was on the first day, exploring the dark basement before hard cutting, showing us it's been 5 sleeps later, time progressively passing. We see the boy attempt to get something off of a high shelf in the kitchen using a stool, but this time the boy falls, and you can hear him in the process of calming down after crying. We then cut to 23 sleeps later, where we can see the boy getting tired of the cartoons, turning off the TVs in the house, and then it cuts straight to 49 sleeps later. The boy starts coloring on the carpet in hopes that his mother would come in and yell at him, and like, hey, that's not what he's supposed to do. But when nothing happens, he uttered the words, "I hate you." "56 sleeps later, we get the most dialogue and a heartbreaking line from the boy. The boy then sings to himself, and it cuts to 65 sleeps later. The boy ventures upstairs and finds his mother laying in a bed. Camera cuts to the mom awake with no mouth, just staring at the boy. "314 sleeps later, the house ceiling begins to evaporate. "461 sleeps later, the mom's face directly staring at the TV screen. 872 sleeps later, we see some weird abomination in the kitchen that I still don't have any idea what I'm looking at. Can you discern the difference? Can you see what's happening? It's something moving." I don't know what I'm looking at, but it's scary. 3,681 sleeps. What the fuck? We hear distorted breathing. $18,694 sleeps. We see a creepy ass face on the stairs for an uncomfortable amount of time. I'm gonna just let you know. And then the gut punch of all gut punches. The fact that this 30-minute horror is not complete until this final line in the movie. The camera tracks an open door. The boy says, and you hear sobbing, and the film ends. That's heck. Now listen, I'm definitely not doing it justice. This is, I think, a masterpiece of horror cinema. I know, like, short horror films on YouTube don't get a lot of attention, as opposed to, let's say, I don't know, The fucking Bye Bye Man. It invokes so much emotion out of me, I cannot even describe to you how I felt doing research and rewatching this film. This was the 5th time that I've watched it, and I've showed all of my friends. But this time, for some reason, I felt more emotion and more heaviness, to the point to where I did cry, because this is just a very emotional piece of media, and I think it's such a good attempt at horror because it's childhood trauma. You know what I mean? Without a single doubt, I can confidently say that this is the scariest thing I've ever seen on the internet. Nothing, I mean nothing, has given me more raw emotion than this. And don't get me wrong, yes, it's sad, but I think it's sad. I think the fact that it's sad makes it scary, you know? Because it's just like, I know I'm an emotional human being. I understand that. But putting yourself in that situation is so much easier when you've been in a situation like that. And I'm not talking about that I was 6 and I was transported to hell. I'm saying I was left alone at a very young age before, and I was terrified. And if you've ever felt that one single emotion, that one single time that all kids need to feel, that one time that just fucks you up for like the rest of your life, whether it be now I'm scared of being alone, or now I'm scared of the dark, you know? It's these like trauma responses that you get as an adult. When you watch something like that and you're transported right back to that fucking time, right back to that terrifying piece of time, it's a feeling that I've never felt before. And I think Kyle does that so perfectly, to the point to where I'm almost feeling terrible if Kyle himself had a bad traumatic childhood, and I'm really sorry for, I don't want that to happen, obviously. If he didn't, then like, kudos for him for capturing that feeling, you know what I mean? But holy shit. There's just a couple things that I want to talk about that just get me right in the feels. Like the child coming to terms with the fact that like this shouldn't be happening. Like no kid should feel these types of emotions, right? But the kid coming to terms and like feeling hateful, thinking that his mother just disappeared and left him there, and then to the point where he has to say like, oh, is this because I have cancer? Is this because I got cancer? And like, no, I'm better now. Like, everything should be fine. You should just come back. Like, coloring on the carpet, like, knowing that he has probably been told not to do that before, but he knows that that is the only way that any type of, like, interaction, even if it's going to get him in trouble, is something that he wants. He just needs that interaction. He needs to know that his mother is still there. And he's doing things that he knows is going to get him in trouble, but he knows has always been foolproof before for getting that attention. And he's willing to just cross that line of, hey, I know this is bad, but maybe this is what I have to do to see my mom again. It's absolutely terrifying. And then him coming to terms 18,000 sleeps later that he's in hell. And this is just some fucked up form of hell where he cannot escape, he can't leave, and the fucking title of it is called Heck, and that's the child's rendition of hell, because hell's a bad word. There's too much to unpack here, and honestly, I don't want any answers. That's not why I'm making this video. I'm making this video to show everyone what kind of a fucking masterpiece this is on YouTube that doesn't have that many views in the grand scheme of like YouTube views. It's a masterpiece. If Kyle Edward Bell ever watches this, well done, my friend. You have scared the hell out of me, and you've evoked feelings of emotion that I have never experienced, either before or ever will again. You managed to create an atmosphere that seems so specifically nostalgic in the worst possible way, and I think that is your full intention watching all of your other content. So I just want to say, if you do stumble upon this video, I don't know if you will, I love your content, and I really hope that you continue to make short form content as well as continue to make big box office stuff, because I feel like you have the perfect brain to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this style of content, let me know and I'll attempt to keep it up. I really like talking about things I find passionate, and I just like talking about the things that maybe not a lot of people know about. And if you give me that type of attention, that type of platform, and you think that this is a cool way to talk about things, yeah, just let me know if you like this content. I recommend watching Skinamarink, obviously. I recommend Heck, and I recommend the whole channel of Bite-Sized Nightmares, and all of that will be linked down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And Kyle, if you're watching, I love you. Please make more stuff.